Is there a God? I think it's illogical to believe there is no creator, that everything just came about randomly in a random explosion. I do have a video which you could watch, which basically would answer many of the questions that we will cover. And that's a video from Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, who made a video called The Purpose of Life. The example that Rabbi Mizrahi uses is a simple plastic cup. Let's take, I've got a glass here. Now, anyone that sees a glass knows someone designed this glass. They made it so it's exactly right for your hand to fit. You can hold it. The lip is just right so you can drink from it. You know, everything is precise because someone thought, I'll make something where liquid can be put in, someone can drink it, I'll design it so that someone can hold it easily with one hand. There was a designer behind it. Now, if I told you that there was an explosion in a glass factory and that glass came to be in this explosion, you'll tell me I'm completely crazy. How can such a thing be? And that's very similar with the Big Bang Theory. A big problem with the Big Bang Theory is two atoms collided and it banged. Now, if you ask an evolutionist, so where did the material come from that bang? So they'll say, I don't know. This is a book that was written by the Rambam Maimonides. This is the very first book, and he's got a whole set. I've got the set there at the back. And this book, Amadar, would basically answer all your questions. So on the very first chapter, the very first line, it says, the foundation of all foundations and the pillar of wisdom is to know that there is a primary being who brought all existence into being. All the entities in the heavens, the earth, and what is between them came into existence only from the truth of his being. When we describe God, it always starts with, and you should know. The Torah doesn't ask you to believe in God. The Torah tells you that you should know your God. And the only way you can know your God is by investigating. He also calls God a primary being. And in the notes, the Rambam wrote another famous work which is called The Guide to the Perplexed, which many people say it almost sounds in that book, if you read the book, and I have the book, I've read it, almost like he doubts the existence of God. But basically he's going through it to prove that there is a creator and that this creator cannot be physical. He can't have physicality to him. Because as soon as something is physical, like me, like you, then you are confined to a certain time and a certain place. Meaning you can't be everywhere if you are here. I'm now in Israel. I can't be now in South Africa. That's often when Christians obviously say that God became flesh. That means he's no longer God, because now he's like me and you. He's stuck in a certain time, a certain place. He can't be at all places at once. It's just not possible because he's trapped in physicality. That's one of the problems with physicality. Then we also got to reconcile the fact that the Torah often uses physicality to describe God. So we're still in chapter 1, we're number 3 now. If one would imagine that none of the entities aside from him, aside from God, exist, he alone would continue to exist. And the nullification of their existence would not nullify his existence. Because all the other entities require him, and he, blessed be he, does not require them, nor any of them. Therefore the truth of his being does not resemble the truth of any other being. And basically what he's saying here is, God is the ultimate creator. He created everything, but nothing created God. So who made God? God was, God is, and God will be. That's the Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. And later this will be covered also in this book. So God's the ultimate creator. He created everything, but he doesn't need the creation. And another question arises is, so why did God then create the world if he doesn't need us? And it's a question that's asked in the Talmud, and it's also covered by the Rambam. Well, first he's going to cover that God is one, giving some proof text, some verses in the Torah, or in the Tanakh, that states clearly that God is one. This is what is meant by the Torah statement in Devarim 4 verse 35, there is nothing else aside from him. Aside from him, there is no true existence like his. And this covers another subject, is the reason that the Torah describes God in a certain way, that he took us out of Egypt with an outstretched hand, is so that we, as the creation, can relate to the Creator. But the creation can never truly understand the Creator. We can try to understand the Creator by analyzing the Torah, the oral Torah, but we can never truly understand God, because it's too difficult for us to truly understand who God is, the ultimate creator who created everything. It's a very difficult concept to grasp. And anyone that says, if you were to say, and the Rambam mentions this later on, if you were to say that you understand God fully, that means you are on the same level as God, which cannot be, because you are the creation. And also, you are physical and attached to physicality. You're living in this world. When God is detached from physicality, does not live in this world. His existence fills the entire universe. You occupy a very small space depending on your length and your breadth. That's pretty much the space that you occupy. That's why often when you ask an Orthodox Jew, do you know God? The Orthodox Jew normally tells you, I know that God exists. And that's what I'm commanded to do. To know that God exists. To know that God created the world. To know that God created me and Christians and Muslims and Hindus. He created everything. The trees, birds, the animals, everything He created. But for me, a small speck of the creation, to say that I know the Creator, that's chutzpah. That's arrogance. It cannot be. You can never truly know the Creator. It's just not possible. You can get to know who God is by studying the Torah, by seeing how God interacts with His creation, by seeing what God likes, what He doesn't like. It's all written in a book. We also got to investigate that this book that we have, how do we know it's from God? And if we know it from God, then if we study it in that way, we can get to know our God. So now the Rambam is just saying, this is in number 6, that the knowledge of this concept is a positive commandment, as is implied in Exodus 20 verse 2, I am God, your Lord. And then there's a negative commandment, meaning you should not do this. Anyone who presumes that there is another God transgresses a negative commandment, as Exodus 20 verse 3 states, you shall have no other gods before me, and denies the fundamental principle of faith. Because this is the great principle of faith upon which all depends. Because if you believe that God is not one, you believe there is maybe more than one, then there's not a single creator, then you believe there's more than one creator. And that way you can't believe in Judaism, you can't believe in the Torah, because the Torah says time and time again that God is one. And this is going to be number 7 in the Rambam. This God is one. He's not 2 or more, but one. Unified in a manner which surpasses any unity that is found in the world. Because even the word one is restrictive. That is pretty much what the Rambam is trying to say. I.e., he is not one in the manner of a general category which includes many individual entities, nor one in the way that the body is divided into different portions and dimensions. This is an argument that many Christians would use, is you've got your physical body and you've got your soul, and they all combine to be one, so why can't God be a unity like that? This is what he's trying to clarify here. Rather, he's unified, and there exists no unity similar to his in this world, because obviously not from this world. If there were many gods, they would have body and form, because like entities are separated from each other only through the circumstances associated with body and form. Were the Creator to have a body and a form, people believe that God became flesh. The Christians, for example, Catholics. Some people, like Hindus, believe that God took physical form in many different ways. Were the Creator to have a body and form, he would have a limitation and definition, because it is impossible for a body not to be limited. But since our God, blessed is his name, possesses unlimited power, as evidenced by the continuous revolution of the spheres. By spheres, he's talking about the moon, the stars. We see that his power is not the power of a body, because a body cannot control the movement of stars and the sun and the moon. Since he is not a body, the circumstances associated with bodies that produce division and separation are not relevant to him. Therefore, it is impossible for him to be anything other than one. The knowledge of this concept fulfills another positive commandment, as implied by Devarim 6 verse 4, the Jewish creed. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Yo Israel, the Lord is your God. God is one. Often when Jews debate with Christians, that's the verse we use, because you can't get more clear than that. Behold, it is explicitly stated in the Torah and the works of the prophets that the Holy One, blessed be He, is not confined to a body or physical form. As it says in Devarim 4 verse 39, because God, your Lord, is the Lord in the heavens above and in the earth below. And a body cannot exist in two places simultaneously. It means it can't be physical, because something physical can't be in two places at the same time. Also in Devarim 4 verse 15, for you did not see any image. And this is at the giving of the Torah, meaning God doesn't have image. And in the prophet Isaiah 40 verse 25 it states, to whom can you liken me? With whom God will be equal. Were he confined to a body, he would resemble other bodies. So let's go with the Christian theory. If you say that Jesus is God in the flesh, then you're saying God has a body, which means he's confined to time and space. He can't be then in heaven and on earth. He's on earth then, but he can't also be then in heaven. That's the one point that the Rambam is trying to bring. And also it says in Devarim 4 verse 15, for you did not see any image. So if you're saying that Jesus is God in the flesh, it can't be, because it says in the Torah that you didn't see any image. And if I see Jesus, who is a Jew, in front of me, I'm clearly seeing an image. So that goes against another verse in the Torah. And also in the prophet, Isaiah 40 verse 25, to whom can you liken me? With whom I will be equal. So obviously, if I can see God in the flesh, I can find another Jew, looks similar. I can say, look, they're pretty much the same. So it doesn't work out. Now it's going to go into the difficulty that we have many verses in the Torah that does give physicality to God. If so, what is the meaning of the expression employed by the Torah, below his feet, in Exodus 24 verse 10? Written by the finger of God, in Exodus 31 verse 18. God's hand, in Exodus 9 verse 3. God's eyes, Genesis 38 verse 7. God's ears, Numbers 11 verse 1, and the like. Like I said, we have many verses like this. We could go on for days. All these expressions we use to relate to human thought processes which know only corporal imagery. For the Torah speaks in a language of man, because the Torah was given to man. They are only descriptive terms, as apparent from Devarim 32 verse 41. I will whet my lightning sword. Does he have a sword? Does he need a sword to kill? Rather, this is a metaphoric imagery. Similarly, all such expressions are metaphoric imagery. And he brings a proof of the concept. One prophet says that he saw the Holy One, blessed be He, clothed in snow white. Daniel 7 verse 9. And another envisioned him, another prophet, coming with crimson garments from Batzra in Isaiah 63 verse 1. So what is it now? Coming in white or crimson garments? Moshe, our teacher, himself envisioned him at the Red Sea as a mighty man waging war, and at Mount Sinai saw him as the leader of the congregation wrapped in a tallis. This shows that he has no image or form. All these are merely expression of prophetic vision and imagery, and the truth of this concept cannot be grasped or comprehended by human thought. This is what the verse in Eov 11 verse 7 states. Can you find the comprehension of God? can you find the ultimate bounds of the Almighty? So again, this is all very deep concepts, and I think we've covered most of it. Obviously, it's quite a thick book, so we just did the highlights. I would say if you really want to grasp, get your head around this concept, then you gotta study the Mishnah Torah, the Book Hamadah. Many people, because they come from Christianity or Hinduism, struggle with the concept that God is not physical, because they've always been told God is physical by either Jesus, God in the flesh, or in Hinduism with the statues. They struggle to grasp the concept that God is not physical. He's like the Rambam says, a primary being. And the Rambam says even that statement is blasphemy. Because by saying he's primary, is you're giving him a fix, you're fixing him in a certain time. He was the first, which also isn't that clear. The best way is the way that Jews describe God, with Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. God was, God is, and God will be. That's the best way to describe God.